Let's talk about Thursday night. You're going to learn way too much about the algorithm in Excel, and I've done a ton of work this week, and I think it's going to really create some awesome things that's going to happen. So let's talk about this. And also, if you want to stick around at the end of the video, I will try to do some of this in Spanish as well. So we'll see how long this goes. En español, del fin del video. All right, so let's talk about the Thursday night game real quick and then get into all the things that I've done. Just for those of you, I'll give you the bottom line. Um, this Thursday night game coming up, it's Tennessee at home against Indianapolis. The point projections say Indianapolis wins this game by 3. They are actually an underdog in this, or well, they're both at the same even money line the way I checked it, but they are they're both the same, but it does like Indianapolis, even though they're not at home. We're going to get into some reasons why it's doing that. The win score percentage, though, is very, very close. So this game is relatively a toss up. If there was a good line for Indianapolis, I might say take them on the money line, but this is basically really a pretty awful game to pick because it looks like just a toss up. I don't think there's much you can do other than a lot of times in close games like this, I think the points tend to go higher because they're competing one touchdown at a time at the end of the game. So that might be something to maybe go for the over, but I don't really like either of these teams based on what the algorithm is saying. Now, let's talk about what the algorithm is saying. So I have done a tremendous amount of work here in this season pivot sheet. And what happened is I was running a bunch of different combinations to try to figure out um, what are the best percentages are up here. And I realized that the win percentage that we were using here was really um, it was really looking at just wins, previous wins in the season, and comparing the wins of the two teams. And if one team had more wins, it gave them a more positive number here to impact this. And I decided we were missing something. For example, in last week, we were missing something where you could see there was this Buffalo Seattle game. And right here now, looking back with this distribution, it actually favors Buffalo to win this game by 6%. But if you watch the video last week and we talk about the games from last week, it had Seattle to win this by like 40%, a 40% favor. So they were like negative 40% Buffalo was here. And I was like, this was one of the games I couldn't get the algorithm to get right when I was trying to regressively plug different percentages back in here to try to make this thing work retroactively. So as I was looking at it, I'm like, well, what is the reason why Buffalo did win this game against Seattle? Because if, in the video last week, it said this was going to be a really high scoring game. It had it at like 32-32 or something. And it ended up being a very high scoring game, and Buffalo did win. The algorithm was right to pick Buffalo with the points based on point projections, but it wasn't right based on this win strength number. So I figured, well, this was because Buffalo was at home, and Buffalo plays differently at home. Everybody knows this. Lake effect wins, whatever they get. So I thought we need to be comparing the home percentage of the number of the games that the team is winning at home, and then compare it against the number of the road team what the road team is winning on the road, and compare those percentages here, which gives Buffalo a 30% win when you compare those two numbers, because Buffalo was like 4-1 or something at home, and Seattle, I guess, was like probably 50-50 or something on the road, something like that. So the reason why it did this is now it's giving a better percentage up here. So what I'm doing is I'm running this whole macro again with this new percentage and new thing that I've added here, this new home versus away win percentage. And I'm going to get a more optimal percentage here, which I'm going to report to everybody on Saturday for all these games. This is not final right now. This is just me messing around. So what we're looking at for the whole week right here isn't where it's going to stay. And this also doesn't show you point projections, which would normally be over here on this sheet, but I'm not going to show you that yet because that's just for subscribers, and it's also, I don't want to share all that yet until this weekend. Now, as for what is happening because of this, is that I think we're going to get a much better percentage up here for week 10, right? And you can see some things like it favors Arizona actually to beat the Bills at home. Even though they're not as good at home as the Buffalo is on the road. That's what this negative 25% says here. But other factors like their margin of victory, their defense, their offensive rating, points per game are actually all better. And that's why it's favoring Arizona, even though they just lost to Miami. Baltimore heavily favored over the Patriots. I'm not going to go through the whole week. Like I said, I'm going to do that in Saturday's video, but there's going to be more in depth, and this is going to be updated. So tonight, esta noche, right? Esta noche. If you look at the injury report and you look at the teams playing tonight, it's Tennessee, right, versus Indianapolis. Where are you? IND. So when looking at both of these equipos, both of these teams, we see that Tennessee's got a lot of scoring power, so does Indianapolis. They're evenly distributed when it comes to quarterback, when it comes to running back, when it comes to tight end, when it comes to receivers, when it comes to kicking. These are two super evenly matched teams. I can see why the point spread is only 1 point. There's really nothing to take. But like I said, games that are competitive like this with teams that can score, I'd say probably go for the over, even though it's a Thursday night game. That's kind of my advice. Let's back out for a second, and I'll show you the lesiones, the injuries. Let's go back to here. So this slicer here has all the different injuries of all the players. And if you choose 0 and all the questionables, that leaves in everybody who doesn't have an injury or is questionable for the game. One thing that I like to look at is this reserve COVID-19 list. Okay. Who's got COVID, right? This is going to tell you because these players are playing on the teams, right? So you can assume that it is a big assumption that if they come up with some COVID diagnosis on these teams, then it might be going through those teams. Green Bay, I've seen that. That's a new one, but I knew they had it. Andy Dalton's out. The Chiefs have had it going in and out. I think Mecole Hardman's been on the list for a little while. Now Miami's got something. Now the Steelers have 3. Uh-oh. Roethlisberger, McDonald, and Samuels. Uh-oh. Problema. Estás enferma. Not good. San Francisco. Kendrick Bourne. I think he's been on there a while. That is interesting. Now that we know that, it is important for us to go back and look at this to say who's Pittsburgh playing this week? Where are you? 10. Playing Cincinnati. So I think they're favored by a lot. They're a huge win percentage here, but they could be missing half their team with COVID. So watch out there. That just tells you watch out for that game. That's what you can learn from this. So, El Findo video. So for las personas quien escuchan en español, a la noche, jueves, a la noche. I know Tennessee. I know Indianapolis. I don't know how to say tie in Spanish, bro. Los equipos no gane. No gane. Not gonna win. Pero puntos más de, I don't know, es 47. No sé qué el over under is, but that's probably the best bet. All right. So if you're interested in getting a copy of the algorithm and getting this before everybody else, en la semana, and sábado, I'm going to do another video, an update with everything, with all the point projections and a current injury report. And we will know more about the rest of the week. But as for right now, I'm real excited about this home and away factor. I mean, if we could get Buffalo to be favored in that game last week, that's saying something because they don't have the best offensive rating against Seattle. This is last week, or a margin of victory or points per game, but their defense was stronger and it ended up being a defensiveless game completely, but their home win percentage is better after that win. Actually, this is kind of looking back retroactively, but it still would have made it better even if it didn't have the win from last week in there. So anyway, we will be doing a ton more work, and good luck everybody. Go Points Thursday night. We're rooting for points.